Colts general manager Chris Ballard spoke to the media today. A lot of work has been done over the last 48 hours at the Indiana Farm Bureau Football Center, and Chris Ballard addresses a lot of it. A couple of newsworthy things. Shaq Leonard returned to practice today. What does that mean? Chris Ballard wouldn't say. Trevor Denbo, safety, who made the team yesterday, is going on the injured reserve list, and as a result, a roster spot opens up for somebody else. That's newsworthy, but other than that, Chris Ballard, pretty evasive, really. Over the years, he's gotten a reputation for being honest. Today, a little bit more evasive than honest, to tell you the truth.
Chris, Trevor had a boot on his foot. Is that anything serious? Or?
Yeah, we'll make a corresponding move today. I'll go ahead and tell you. He's going to go to IR. We'll see when he gets back. I don't know exactly the time frame. I don't think it's the whole year, but he'll go to IR today.
We saw Leonard out there. That's a good step. I think he's ready for Houston. You guys are practicing.
Yeah, we load him up early. He's got to work. It's like the first day of training camp, or really almost, OTA work. So he's got to get the work in. He's been incredible. In every day at 5:45, meeting with coaches, extra time spent rehabbing, getting his body strong. So now this is the next step. Let's start practicing again.
When's the last time he was fully healthy with no ankle? 19?
Probably 19. I think it bothered him some at 19 too. Yeah.
Kristen, you guys, well, just to button it up, you guys feel like you resolved this thing? I mean, I know you're not a doctor, you can't say anything 100% certainty, but the surgery to this point,
I think so. I mean, I hope so, but proofs with whether going forward. But we feel good about where he's at and where he's going.
Did he do anything in the spring, or is this the first time since January he's been on the field?
This is probably the first time since January.
Chris, so you don't really have in your mind, do you kind of think where he may be ready to come back, or is it just up to him?
No, it's up to, look, if I leave it up to him.
Yeah, that's put wrong.
So we'll work together with our training staff and doctors, and we'll all make a decision on when we think the best time based on how practice is going.
You kept 8 on the offensive line. I think you added 1 today. Where do you feel about the depth at that position? Because a lot of those guys haven't proved it in this league yet.
Yeah, but we feel good about their talent. We think Will Fries, took some good steps. We feel good about, Wesley French was a good find by our scouts. Scouts did a really good job. He gives you guard center flexibility that we like. We like the progress that Bernard's making. We thought he really came on. He gave up, the 1 sack this last week, but the rest of the game was really good. So no, we feel good about, where we're at in the depth. They're young, but that's not a bad thing.
What about defensive tackle?
What's that?
What about defensive tackle?
Well, when you have Buckner and you have Grover, which I would put up there as about as good as it gets. Okay, at least it's up there in the upper echelon of the league. And keeping Coward, and we got the young kid behind, at the 3 and can play the nose, and then plus when we kept 6 defensive ends with Dio, with Lewis, that have a lot of flexibility to go inside and outside. And then plus what we've got on the practice squad. So we feel good. It'll be a position that on the D-line, we're always going to continue to look. But we feel good about where we're at. And we feel good about the flexibility that the defensive ends give us. And it's hard. That's funny, last year we'd have these discussions because you don't want to take Buck off the field, but he needs to come off the field. We need to make sure it's a long season. We need to make sure we're able to get a rotation in there. So I think we'll be able to do that with what we have.
With Dennis Kelly, was it just the knee injury? You guys didn't get a chance to really see him in camp, or?
We like Dennis. That's what I'll say. We like Dennis. I think that will play out, but we like Dennis.
I feel like we've asked you a lot about your wide receivers this offseason, so where do you think that room is after training camp and preseason? And go back to the well a lot, but is T.Y., is that still an option for you guys?
Well, let's talk about the group. We kept 6, and we like them. We like I mean, you know, Pittman's Pittman. We thought Pierce did some really good things. And he's going to have to grow up in a hurry, but we think he will. He's mature, he's smart, he's very talented. We thought Paris had a really good camp also, and so did Ashton Doolin. So we feel really good about him. You know, Patman came on there at the end, and then we like Strawn's talent. You know, coming off the knee, only having, you know, a few days of real work. You know, when you're getting into that, you know, when he came back and then you get 3 or 4 days work, then you start really cranking it up and playing. You know, that's tough, but we like Mike's talent. So we feel good about the group. And as for T.Y., I mean, I think, look, do I think T.Y. can still play? Absolutely, I do. I'm never going to shut the door on it, you know, but right now, I like our group, and we like our group.
With, you know, it's never ideal to keep 3 quarterbacks, but was it easier because of what Sam did? Was it just, he deserves a spot, I don't care if there's 3?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. Played his way on. He's a good player, played good. We had a feeling he would, you know, because he worked so hard at it. He's so diligent in his process of how he prepares. And then he takes feedback really well. You know, when we talked after the season about things he needed to get better at, you know, you tell him and he goes and works at it. You know, we think Sam's got a really bright future.
Chris, having said that roster spots are so precious, carrying him at 3, are you just convinced that waiving practice squad, he's gone?
Oh, I have no question. Yeah, and I give him the spot. You know, give him the spot.
Chris, where do you, either side of the ball, where have been the hardest cuts for you?
Oh, they're all freaking hard. You know, you obsess over it. You know, they're all hard. You know, we lost Sterling to, that was a hard one, losing Sterling, because we like Sterling. You know, and Chicago claimed him, that was hard. But we had a chance to acquire, you know, Grant, who we think as a special teams player is really special. You know, and we lost some guys, so we were kind of been looking for that guy that could come in and fill that role, you know, kind of like Glasgow did, Matt Adams, guys that could, and this kid we think is pretty special on teams. Yeah, those were hard. That was a hard cut.
Are you looking at a kicker at all, or is Hot Rod your guy?
No, he's our guy.
The decision on the running back, Lindsey, was that special teams related? That he doesn't play special teams?
I mean, look, Phillip's great, and I'm not ruling out ever bringing him back again. But, you know, Dion, he did some good things too. And the special team gave him the nod, you know, without question. And that's important. But, you know, we're not against bringing him back, but we like Dion. I think he's explosive. He took another step, especially on special teams. Philip's a good player. But the special teams part, I've been tilted it more towards Dion.
Well, Chris, I know you haven't gone into detail on Quenton in that contract, but you know, we're a week and a half out from the start of the season. If you don't get that done, can those conversations continue into the season?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
I know that, all right, I'm trying to ask this very vaguely, but there is this like thought about positional value and that sort of thing. I don't care, but I'm just throwing this out there.
Yep.
You know, he plays guard, it's not a position that's gonna be the highest paid in the league. How much does that stuff matter? Just taking Quenton out of it, just generally, how much does that stuff matter, or can a player transcend that?
Player can transcend it. I mean, Chiefs didn't have a problem paying that guard from New England big money. What's the difference? You pay your best players. Okay, and he's special. He's special to us. So hopefully we get things worked out. We'll see.
What about this roster, if anything, gives you a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of pause? There's always got to be something that worries you a little bit.
No, I mean, look, you always, you know what I mean? I mean, we obsess with depth, which we think we have good depth, but look, until we start really cranking it up, getting into the season and playing, you don't know, so we'll continue to search and look. Like, I think the one over one thing that people overlook is the practice squad and how important it is. That's 16 extra players that you get. They're important and they're playing for you. Like to sit here and act like those guys aren't playing, that's not realistic. They're playing. At some point during the season, they're coming up and they're playing. So making sure we got the right guys on the practice squad, that we have a good, really 70-man roster because of, we get the international exemption this year. Making sure we have the best 70 guys and the best 16 guys on the practice squad, that's something that is extremely important. And it's even more emphasized through COVID, with everything we went on through COVID, but that's where you go. You're working with these guys, you're training them, that's where you go. You go to the practice squad to fill the need, if possible.
Chris, is it two game day call-ups on practice squad or 3 during the season?
No, you get 3. So each player gets 3 this year. So they can get 3 call-ups.
No, on game day you can call up how many players?
I think it depends, but I don't think there's a limit. You just got to have the inactives balanced out.
Okay.
Chris, last year you guys had a ton of veteran experience, backup offensive linemen. This year you don't. Is that concerning at all, or you good with the young guys?
Go with the young guys. Yeah, go with the young guys. They don't become veterans unless they play. They got to play to become vets, so we go with the young guys.
Everybody's been singing Matt Ryan's praises since the start of camp. What have you seen up close?
Yeah, no different. Look, y'all been around here. You can feel it. He's got an urgency and he's got an expectation, not only from himself but from others. But it's hard to demand much of others if you're not putting it out there yourself, and which he does. So yeah, just really a special leader and special guy. I'm fortunate to have him.
Chris, just go back to Shaquille for a second. I know you said today's step 1, but is it out of the question he plays in 11 days or whatever?
You're new, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, I'm not. You're not going to pigeonhole me into saying that. He'll be back when he's back. You'll know. You'll know. He'll be on the active. All of a sudden you'll see, and he won't be inactive on the game day. You'll know.
Let's go 2 more.
What are his final steps, Shaq? What else does he need? Obviously today's day 1 of practice. What does he need to do?
He's got to get his body ready to play. Yeah, he's got to get his body ready to play. That's not you can't miss all that time and just let's go to being game ready. You got to practice. You got to get some work in. That's what it'll do. I can't give you a timeline.
I know.
Maybe week 1, maybe week 6. We'll work and we'll deal with however we got to deal with.
I won't rehash, the season opener question and all that. There's been a streak that you already know about. But is there a mental element to starting 1-0? Is that overblown, or is there something to it?
I don't know. They all count. They all count. Of course you want to come out kicking ass right away and start out, 1-0. But you prepare, get ready to play, and you line up, and when the season starts, you roll. And, win or lose the first game, you got to get the game 2 also. So I just think when if you overblow it, all of a sudden, I'm a freak, we lost, season's over. Well, no, it's not. We've been 1-5 and 1-4 here, and both times bounced back and gave ourselves a real opportunity. So you got to play the season out. We want to predict the outcomes. Let it play out. I know y'all got to write about stuff. I get it. Y'all got to have stories, and I get that part of it. But let's let the season play out. 1 through 17.
That's Chris Ballard. What did I tell you? A little bit more evasive than he usually is. He's opened up kind of the box of information in previous years during appearances with the media and during kind of question and answer periods with us. Today, not so much. So one thing that I thought was interesting is he's talking about it being a 17-game season, and of course it is, but there's got to be urgency in game 1. When you haven't won an opener since 2013, which predates the Chris Ballard era by 4 years, You got to get off to a good start, especially considering, and he isn't going to say this, and he shouldn't, that Houston is not really a very good football team. And opening the season against somebody who's not very good, you got to hit the ground running, and you got to start to stack wins, not just so you can win games in November and December, but you got to win games in January. And if you're going to win games in January, you can earn your way there in September. That process begins in earnest next week, September 11th at Houston. Colts have got to win that game. Must win week 1? You know what? It sounds silly, but I think it's true.